Come for Keith and everyone else who's going to be gone. Okay, aquí vamos. Here we go. We've got a really nice, easy, short video. 42 segundos. No es ni un minuto, not even a minute. But this is a good thing to remember to keep in mind to just vary up your repertoire of things that you can say. Maneras de decir sí. Ways to say yes. Ooh, I've got to make sure I turn on my audio before we start that. Okay, cinco maneras, 5 ways. 5 maneras de decir sí. Ways to mix it up, ways to make it sound a little more natural. And these are definitely all things that people say on a daily basis. Aquí vamos.
5 maneras de decir sí. Claro que sí.
Claro que sí. Clearly, yes. Of course, yes. Oh, so the opposite of that is muy lógico.
Claro que no.
Claro que no. Of course not. Claro que no. But claro que sí. Well, sure, yeah.
¿Te gusta enseñar español? Claro que sí. Así es.
Así es. Literally, so it is. But it is a manner of giving assent, saying yes. Así es. So it is.
Úsalo para enfatizar tu respuesta afirmativa. ¿Eres colombiana? Así es.
Just reaffirming, oh, are you? Oh, yes, you're right on that. You got that right. Así es.
Exactamente o exactamente. Úsalo para confirmar la afirmación de otra persona. ¿Vives en Colombia? Exactamente.
Okay. Bueno, okay. Mi favorito, vale.
Vale. Úsalo para responder a una invitación o propuesta. Oye, ¿vemos una película? Vale.
And that just kind of, vale is another way of saying okay. It is saying yes, but it's saying okay. Vale says okay. Vale es muy popular en Colombia, en Venezuela, en Latinoamérica. Less popular, vale, in Mexico. En México es menos popular. Vale, pero en Latinoamérica, en muchos países de Latinoamérica y en España, todo el tiempo, vale. It's like every other phrase is vale.
De acuerdo. Úsalo para mostrar que opinas algo similar. Es una mañana muy bonita. De acuerdo.
De acuerdo. De acuerdo is literally saying agreed. Estoy de acuerdo. Estoy de acuerdo. I agree. But when we just shorten it, and we often do just shorten it to say, de acuerdo, you're again letting somebody know that you're saying, yeah, sure, and just verifying that. So these are good things to keep in mind to throw into your
Marilyn,
repertoire.
Susan's trying to get in. Susan
Oh,
Zarda.
Gracias. Okay. Oh, gracias aquí. 2. And it blocks that when I have a share screen on. Sometimes, this is one of the Zoom mysteries. Sometimes it will show me when people are trying to get in, and it'll pop up a little tab way up at the top, at the very, very top. And this time it did not do that. Gracias, Patricia. Thank you, Pat, for letting me know that they were in. So we'll send you the link for that. Es muy corto, very short, but super easy and super useful things to make sure that you mix in, with your repertoire when you agree with people. Okay, bueno, vamos a trabajar con 2, quizás 3 cosas, depende un poquito. Today we're going to make sure we cover the next 2 destinos, kind of do a walkthrough on those. I want to incorporate some practice for you guys on using le and what kind of verbs use le, kind of reviewing that. And thinking of le together with those verbs as almost really, like little 2 twin units that come together and usually wind up working together. If we get some time, we'll do some extra reading, pero bueno, depende. Depends. I will send you some, for sure, some a reading to do over the next week, which is a very fun reading and an interesting reading. So indirect object pronouns and the verbs they go with. And we'll take a look, we'll do a walkthrough with the two destinos, and that'll probably fill most of our,
Marilyn, can you,
Oh, poor Karen, you're frozen.
really, really choppy?
Yeah, you were kind of frozen up. Am I frozen up for everybody else? Yes or no? See or no?
Keep freezing.
No.
like-
No, okay. I'm not frozen up. I always ask because I don't know how I look to you guys. I know how, I know if I freeze, I see it, but that could be happening with you guys and maybe I'm not aware.
I
Okay,
think I'm gonna bet.
yeah, Karen, if you want to try to get out and get all the way back in, I'll wait to start this.
Should I back out and
I
Try to
think
get
try
in again?
that. I think try for that. It's the old hit the TV set or turn it on and
Okay.
off.
Reboot.
Yeah, reboot. Yeah, there you go. So we'll wait to start this. Okay. I have made up some little notes so that I can check out things that I would typically think people might have questions on from the Destinos. And we're kind of going to try to zoom through two sessions here. Okay, Aki. Wow, hey, my little tab worked. I could see her trying to come in. Why did
But she is still on my screen frozen.
She's still on my screen frozen too.
Yeah, so
But now she's on a different, I've got her doubled. Oh, but now
She disappeared.
we'll see if she's coming in here.
yeah.
Vamos a ver. We'll see.
I see Karen P, but no picture.
Okay.
Mhm.
Bueno, y el próximo episodio es de, el título es Reunidos, reunited, ¿sí? Bien. There are a couple phrases I'm going to refer to because one of them is a set of kind of financial things that you might not encounter a lot. So, they might be a little bit tough, but we'll get the rest of them in here. Vamos a ver. Okay. So we're going to take a quick skip all the fufa with introductions que no necesitamos, which we really don't need at all.
Karen, was Karen in? She wasn't in on my screen. So
Oh, she was in doubled on mine and then she was not in at all. So
yeah, I don't have her in at all.
no, I don't have her in. I think she bopped out for whatever reason. Let me do a stop share for a minute and see if she can get back in. I don't know if it shouldn't really affect it. Nunca se sabe. You never know.
Yeah, technology is a mystery.
Because there are people who routinely have to get into meetings and pop in and out.
Can I ask about closed captioning? It appears on the bottom of your screen when we're watching Destinos with you, but on my screen, when I go to watch my video, I have no closed captioning option. Does anyone else experience that or have a suggestion?
Realmente, really? That surprises me. Generally, I see it down here. I don't know if you can, oh, no, you can't, of course, because I don't have it on share screen yet. Let's
Yeah,
try
it's
the share
usually in the
screen.
corner with all of the other.
I'm going to show you down here, way down at the bottom,
Right.
a CC.
Right.
That should appear.
It does not. I have all of the other things that appear next to it and
Let
near
me
it
ask you this, do you watch it on a tablet or a computer?
on a computer, on my laptop.
Oh, then you should be seeing it on a laptop.
I know.
Wow.
Under settings, there might be an additional thing where you choose a language and maybe.
Yeah.
that's off.
Okay.
Check under settings and maybe, because it really, really helps. especially for the
Exactly.
stage you guys are at, to see those closed captions.
Yeah.
You know, really any movie you watch, I would always suggest that you pop in the closed captions, even if you feel comfortable listening without them.
I'll check my
Because,
settings.
yeah, there are always a few things that you may miss.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay. A ver. Oh, and actually, Patricia, Pat, two of the questions you had from last week, I went back and listened for them, and these will make sense. You had a question about a se and a le used, I believe, in this episode, and we'll take a look at those. Aquí tenemos Pedro. Pedro está hablando con Carlos, su sobrino, y con la esposa de Carlos, que se llama Gloria, ¿bien? Y hay que darle la buena noticia. La buena noticia es que han encontrado a Roberto. They have found Roberto. So, hay que darle la buena noticia. Here we've got a le that comes in. We're going to take a look at this le later. Hay que darle. Dar is one of the top 5 verbs you should always associate with le. Top 5. Dar you should always associate with a le. That is very, very infrequently used without a me, te, nos, or a le or les. Almost always it is accompanied by one of these because you give something to somebody. So if you say give it to him, you're going to have a le. If you say I'm giving it to him, you're going to have a le.
When you say, pregunta, hay que darle. So,
Could that
there
le
is-
move somewhere else?
no, I'm just wondering how to translate that. That is, there is good news to give you, basically.
Sí, sí, es así, así es, así es. Hay que es muy impersonal. Hay que es como one must. Pero en inglés no decimos one must con frecuencia. Decimos you have to, you should, you ought to. Hay que es como obligación. Hay que implies an obligation. And it is like saying one must or one should or one does this. Hay que darle. One should give them the good news. Oh, we should give them the good news. But hay que always makes it very impersonal, right? Because we just translate as I. It doesn't go into yo or tú or any of those forms. So one must give them the good news. I have to do this. He's saying I've got a job to do. He's implying that this is something he's going to do. Okay. Y la buena noticia. Pero aquí viene Patty. Y él dice, dime, Patty, hey, talk to me, Patty. Tell me, Patty. Tell me, Patty. Dime, tell me. He uses a familiar command because it's a member of his family, right? Dime, tell me, Patty. Y Patty le dice a Pedro, quería despedirme. I wanted to say goodbye. Quería despedirme. I wanted to say goodbye. Despedirse, to say this. Adiós. Decir adiós es despedirse. It's a reflexive. To say goodbye is a reflexive verb. Quería despedirme. I wanted to say goodbye. Porque ella, ¿a dónde va Patty? Otra vez, ¿a dónde va Patty?
Nueva York.
Va a Nueva York, sí, va a Nueva York y su pobre esposo, el pobre Juan va a llevarla. He's going to take her, and notice it's not a llevarle, it's a llevarla. He's going to take her. Va a llevarla al aeropuerto para irse a Nueva York. Va a llevarla. He's going to take her. And who's he taking? He's taking her. So it's a direct object. That's why it's a la, not a le. Va a llevarla. He's going to take her. He's going to transport her. Llevar, transport, move somebody or something through time and space, right? Va a llevarla al aeropuerto. Bueno, y los dos van, oh, pobre Juan. Mientras tanto, meanwhile, ¿a quién llamó? ¿A quién llamó Carlos? Carlos llamó a alguien.
La secretaria.
La secretaria llamó a la secretaria en su oficina en Miami. La secretaria se llama Ofelia y aquí ella le dice, she says to
Him.
ella le dice que el balance general arroja fuertes pérdidas. Arroja es como drag. Arroja fuertes pérdidas. The balance sheet, the general balance sheet is getting dragged down by heavy losses. Perder, el verbo es to lose. Pérdida es un sustantivo. This is a noun. It means a loss. So, fuertes pérdidas means big bad. Yeah, red ink on the balance sheet. Ok. Y que hablan de cerrar y ponen en peligro las otras inversiones de la familia. Inversión, wow, that looks like inversion, but it really means investments. Here's a nice financial phrase. Inversiones son investments que ponen en peligro las otras inversiones de la familia. So this balance sheet is throwing everything off balance. It is dragging down the family's other investments. Inversiones son investments. Entonces, ¿cómo se siente? ¿Cómo se siente? How does he feel? ¿Cómo se siente el pobre Carlos? Se siente muy mal, ¿no? Se siente muy mal. Está muy preocupado y su tío no le dijo nada de eso. His uncle did not tell him this. Ofelia. ¿Y por qué no le dijo su tío? Why did his uncle say nothing? Pero es Ofelia que le dijo que hay pérdidas y quizás van a cerrar la oficina. Ok, entonces, así es que está muy, muy preocupado. Ok, y bueno, y aquí viene, ¿a dónde fue? Where'd he go? ¿A dónde fue Arturo? ¿A dónde fue? Al hospital. Fue al hospital. ¿Por qué fue al hospital? ¿Está enfermo? No, no está enfermo. ¿Por qué? ¿Por qué se fue al hospital? ¿Por qué se fue al hospital?
A ver su sobrino.
Para ver sí. Fue al hospital para ver a su sobrino, para conocer a Roberto. Bien, y entonces, and here comes the question from Patricia. Aquí tenemos.
Roberto Castillo Soto.
Sí, señor. ¿Es usted algún familiar?
Are you a relative of some kind? Familiar no es familiar, es family. Familiar, are you a family member? She is asking because she doesn't want to just, yeah, confidentiality, okay? Es un sobrino mío. He's a nephew of mine. Es un sobrino mío. He's a nephew of
Sí,
mine.
es un sobrino mío. ¿Cómo está, doctora?
Ha sufrido un shock, pero eso es todo, no hay nada de qué preocuparse. Es un joven fuerte y muy sano.
Entonces, ¿no ha sufrido lesiones graves?
No, ninguna. Está un poco tenso y débil por todo lo que pasó, pero le hemos dado un calmante.
Le hemos dado, you almost never see dad without le. We've given him a sedative. Calmante, sedative, yeah. Something to sometimes they call it a tranquilizante. Calmante, okay.
Hay que dejarlo dormir.
I que comes up again. One must. You have to. You have to let him do what?
Sleep.
Hay que dejarlo dormir. You have to leave him alone to let him sleep. Mañana estará bien. Estará es como futuro. This is future. Tomorrow he will be well. And also we could imply this as he'll probably be fine. Estará, besides being used for future, and they did this a lot in this episode, you probably weren't aware of it. I was aware of it because of the high frequency of future they started using all of a sudden, which meant they were teaching that future can mean two things. El futuro se usa para indicar futuro normal, okay? We use it to indicate future, something will happen, is going to happen. But future in Spanish is also very frequently used to say that something is probably going to occur, to indicate likelihood, probability. Or to say, well, he must be. Wow, hey, your kid's not around the house. Oh, estará con sus amigos. He must be with his friends. He's probably with his buddies. Future tense is also used, besides to talk about the future, to say about what is probably going to happen. It's just something they do, okay?
Y mañana estará bien.
Muchas gracias, doctora.
No hay de qué. Estése tranquilo.
Estése tranquilo. This was your question, Patricia. Estése tranquilo. This is a command. She's saying, put yourself at ease. Tranquilo es calm, chill, even keel. Estar tranquilo is to be in a calm state. She's saying, put yourself at ease, put your mind at ease, but they wouldn't say it that way. They would say, just be calm. And because it's a command, she attached the se. It's a reflexive thing. They attached the se to the command, because an affirmative command, you have to attach the se or the le or the lo or whatever pronoun it is. You have to attach it. So it's estése tranquilo, be calm. Set your mind at ease.
No lo despierten.
No lo but negative, we have to move that lo back up front. No lo despierte, don't wake him. No lo despierte, do not wake him. So she gives him two commands. One for you, hey, you guy, chill out. Everything's okay. And then, hey, don't wake him. No lo despierte. And the lo is referring back to Roberto. Who should he wake? Or in this case, he should not wake. Roberto. It's a direct. So it's not a le, it's a lo. No lo despierte. Don't wake him. Okay?
Necesita descansar.
No, no lo voy a despertar.
No lo voy a despertar. I'm not going to wake him. Okay. Y en ese momento, aquí, ¿quién viene? ¿Quién viene? Mientras Arturo sale del cuarto del hospital, y ¿quién viene? ¿Quién viene? ¿Quién viene? ¿Quién viene? Sí, es Ángela. Ángela viene. Ángela viene mientras Arturo sale. ¿Bien? Están pensando, ¿quién es? ¿Quién es? Ok, y aquí van los dos Y aquí, reconoce a Raquel. He does recognize Raquel. Claro, sí. Ok, con un beso. Le da un beso, le da un beso. He gives her a kiss. Le da un beso. Es un caballero. He's a gentleman.
¿Qué tal, Pedro? ¿Cómo estás?
Bien, muy
Y bueno, entonces, saben que todo está bien. Everything's okay. Óyeme, hey, óyeme, listen to me. He says, hey, the girl who walked in, ¿quién es? Y ella dice, es tu sobrina, es su sobrina. Y claro, ella está muy preocupada con su hermano.
¿Sabes cómo está? Está bien. Ha dicho la doctora que no hay por qué preocuparse.
No hay por qué preocupar. There's no reason to worry. Hay que dejarlo descansar. One must. This whole thing of using hay que is a softer pedal way of saying what you must do. It's not so in your face. It's not so in your face as a command. Hey, leave him alone. Hey, let him rest. You have to let him rest, meaning all of us have to do that. So, hay que dejarlo descansar is not so forceful, not so pushy as saying, déjalo descansar, let him rest. It's less pushy than making it a command. So it takes less stress off that person. But yeah, letting them know this is something we have to do. We all have to do. Hay que dejarlo descansar. ¿Ok? Y entonces, ella, se conocen. They meet each other por primera vez. Se conocen. Arturo y Ángela se conocen. They meet each other. Se conocen. They meet each other. Making it reflexive like that with se conocen makes it an each other idea. Se conocen. They meet each other. Por primera vez. Y Ángela conoce a Pedro por primera vez. She meets him. Ok, y también es un tío. Y ella quiere llamar a Puerto Rico. ¿Por qué quiere llamar a Puerto Rico? ¿Por qué?
Llamar su familia.
Sí, quiere llamar a su familia en Puerto Rico para decirles to tell them, para decirles que Roberto está bien, está en el hospital, pero está bien, ¿verdad? Entonces, y Pedro dice, podemos reunirnos todos más tarde. We can all get together later. We can all meet up later. Y entonces ella llama a sus parientes y ¿a quién llama Raquel en la habitación de su hotel? ¿A quién llama Raquel? ¿A quién llama? Llama a alguien en su hotel.
Sus padres.
Sí. Raquel llama a su mamá. Y su mamá le dice, her mom tells her, su mamá le dice que van a llegar a México. ¿Sí? Que van a viajar a México. Y ella dice, ande ese gaucho por allí. Was anyone a little bit puzzled by what this meant?
Sí.
Okay.
A slam to our
It's a slam. This is mom's way of Mom's way of kind of doing the chancla. Stereotype or no, families are very tight, tend to be very, very tight as a general rule. And moms have a great deal to say, and regardless of the age of their children and what their children do, be they grown, adultos, no importa, does not matter. This is a bit of a slam to Arturo. Anda ese gaucho. Is that gaucho around? Por allí means around there. Meaning, am I going to have to meet up with this gaucho? She's referring to him because he's from Argentina. And the gaucho is a cultural thing to refer to people from Argentina. Argentina de la Argentina. Gauchos were, wow, like cowboys, kind of, although in a somewhat perhaps more notorious way. So what the cowboy was to the American Old West, the gaucho was to Argentina. And the gaucho was literally a cowboy. The gaucho worked the cattle farms. Raising meat is a big deal still in Argentina. It was a big, as raising cattle was a big deal in the American West, beef is a big product, export product, huge export product in Argentina. It still is. But the gauchos were the old-fashioned kind of cowboys who herded the cattle. And the gauchos had a reputation of being somewhat, didn't really pay too much attention to the law, kind of flouted the rules, kind of loose with the women, kind of heavy drinkers. They had that reputation, a stereotype. So when she refers to him as ese gaucho, oh, that guy from Argentina, it is a slam to Arturo, because in her back pocket, she would much rather have Luis there, right? Sí, Juanita.
So what does the anda come from?
Anda, is he walking around? Is he hanging out there? So andar is literally to walk.
Yeah.
So literally, the way this would be translated literally, which we wouldn't want to do, is that gaucho walking around there? Is that cowboy dude walking around there? Gauchos had almost a gangster type reputation, you know, long ago. So by saying anda, is he hanging out there? So she's saying, well, wait, if I'm going to meet everybody in this family, does this mean I have to hang out with this gaucho guy as well? Because, you know, really, oh, we haven't told you yet, but we're going to try to drag Luis around. Oh, has she told him that yet?
No.
How convenient that she has not yet told him that Luis is going to be coming up too.
Surprise.
Mama has this in her back pocket. You know, she would like to do this. But yeah, you can see it in the body language. Yeah. A ella no le gusta la idea de Arturo. She does not like the idea of Arturo. She has not yet met Arturo. She's afraid this has become too tight, way too fast. And she's expressing her displeasure. Okay, ahí. Anda ese gaucho por allí. Y entonces, queda lejos. Remember we're talking about queda? Queda can be an equivalent for está. Here, queda is an equivalent for está. It's an equivalent for está. Instead of saying está lejos, la casa de Pedro, is Pedro's house far off? It's phrased as queda lejos. So they're asking, they're going to go over to Pedro's house. Is Pedro's house far from here? We're just using queda instead of está. ¿Está lejos? ¿Queda lejos? Is it far off? La casa de Pedro. Y, viene Ángela a la casa de Pedro esa noche, that night. Viene ella con los dos a la casa de Pedro. ¿Viene o no?
No.
No, porque quiere pasar tiempo con su hermano. Entonces, los dos, Arturo y Raquel, van a conocer a toda la familia. Van a conocer a toda la familia de don Fernando. Y Pedro preséntales a todos. He presents everybody to them. Oh, I believe they have a pásele. This was the other question that Patricia had. At some point in this little conversation, Pedro says, pásele, come on in. Pásele is a command. He's saying enter, come in. So pásele is come on in. And they use that with a le. And because it's an affirmative command, do enter the house, please. We attach the le to pasa, pásale. ¿Ok? Y entonces, tienen un trago de tequila. They get a tequila. They get a little snort of tequila here. ¿Y qué pasó? Oh, he says, bring the añejo. Añejo is just like saying the vintage tequila. Don't bring the kind of everyday stuff. Bring the good stuff. El añejo. He calls it añejo. And sometimes even on labels here, you will see tequila labeled with añejo. And añejo just means it's well aged. It's the better quality of tequila that they bring. Pobre Arturo, of course, they're not big tequila drinkers in Argentina, so this would be kind of a fun thing for him to do. Y la pobre Raquel.
No se preocupen, yo la llevo a la cocina. Sí, gracias.
La llevo a la cocina. I'll take you off to the kitchen, she says, because she spilled the tequila on her skirt. Se le cayó el tequila. She spilled it on herself. And the se le cayó makes it an accidental thing. This is one of the uses of se you don't hear all the time because it's reserved for oops. Se paired up with le looks like something that should not happen. You have seen se lo or se la when we pair up two pronouns. Se le cayó el tequila means she spilled it on herself. And it's using, when we use se with a le or se with a les, it means somebody did something purely by accident and they take no blame for having done. It's not like saying, you klutz, what did you do? And spill that all over yourself, saying, oh, how unfortunate, this just happened to her. It went and it spilled itself on her. So it is not making her responsible for being clumsy. Se le cayó. She went and dropped it. And then we just have her little recap for everybody. Para todos. Y aquí, y tienen un momento romántico. And then they have a little romantic moment. So we hit your estése, tranquilo, be calm moment. And we hit the pásele question. ¿Hay otra pregunta o no? Is there any other question about that episodio, sí o no? No, bastante obvio, no? But you heard a few subjunctives, a lot of future, because they did a lot of probably kind of phrases, a lot of the probably kind of references, future reference. And so we'll go straight into ¿qué estarán haciendo? And here they're really going to dive into this. Vamos a ver un momento aquí.
Pregunta?
Sí, dime, perdón, sí, Juanita.
Way back in the beginning when they said, hay que darle, one must give him, is that the lay is the him, give him, or you, the usted, is
one
that?
One must give him. You have to give him. You have to give him rest, have to give him a sedative, have to give him, whatever. Sí.
Okay.
Pero darle. You almost never hear dar without a le. You very infrequently hear any form of decir without a le. Okay? Because you give things to people and you say things to people. So that le will almost always be paired up with certain kinds of verbs. Dar being definitely one and decir being definitely another. So we're going to have another one here, and they're going to continue to use this future. Que estarán haciendo means what will they be doing? But no, that's not really what they mean. They're using future here not to say future, but to say, what must they be doing? What can they be doing? It's speculation. It's probability and speculation. ¿Qué estarán haciendo? What can they be doing? Well, they're referring to the fact that Arturo and Raquel kind of snuck off to the back patio for a little kissy time. Okay. ¿Qué estarán haciendo? What must they, what are they doing? We can't see them. ¿Qué estarán haciendo? What are they doing? And I believe in this one, their main objective is to tell things from several points of view. So they kind of look at just several different points of view. The story in the eyes of different people. What could they be doing is how they translated that.
¿Qué les parece Arturo?
¿Qué les parece Arturo? How does Arturo seem to you guys? And when you ask somebody's opinion, what they think about somebody, this is a frequent way to express it. ¿Qué les parece Arturo? How does Arturo seem to you? What he's really asking is, what do you guys think of Arturo? He's asking for their opinion. ¿Qué les parece? How does Arturo seem to you guys? Meaning, what do you think of him? Thumbs up, thumbs down. He's asking for a general impression. And they're going to talk about whether or not they like him, but you're going to notice they don't use gustar.
Arturo, a mí me cae bien.
A mí me cae bien. A mí me cae bien. He falls well on me. Caer es to fall. Aquí, a mí me cae bien does not mean he falls on me well. I know it translates to that, but it doesn't mean that. A mí me cae bien means I like him. And very, very frequently, when you say that you like a human being, and you're not talking about a physical attraction, just like, oh, good guy. Your general impression of somebody, whether you like them or not, as would you have a beer with this guy? That kind of opinion, yeah? Would you sit down next to him and talk to him? A mí me cae bien. He falls well on me. That's what they use for saying, I like somebody. I enjoy being with this person, okay? If you want to say you don't like somebody well, you can make a negative. You can say, a mí no me cae bien. A mí no me cae bien. A mí no me cae bien would say, I don't like them. Also, sometimes to say it as a negative, besides just saying no me cae bien, it's frequent to take out the word bien and put in the word gordo, fat. That's very colloquial. Me cae gordo, me cae gordo. He falls on me fat would be saying, I don't like this guy. He falls fat on me. It sounds very odd to us, but it's a very common way of saying, don't like the dude. But, a mí me cae bien, stamp of approval. Okay, a mí me cae bien. Es un hombre culto. He's a cultured man. Culto, cultured. He's an upper class kind of, upper crust kind of guy. Not just some Joe Schmo. Yeah. Y muy guapo. Oh, good looking. Okay.
Muy guapo.
Ah, yeah.
Parece que ustedes no son los únicos que se han dado cuenta de eso.
Ah, seems like you are not the only guys who have realized that. She says, yeah. As she toasts, brindar.
Ay, Carlos.
No te entiendo. I don't understand you. No te entiendo. And they are calling him foolish here. No seas tonto. Don't be such a dummy. No seas tonto. Tonto es you fool. No seas tonto. Don't be so dumb. Pobre Carlos. Poor Carlos just has not been reading the physical cues here. So the ladies in the room are like, gee, Carlos, you're a little bit slow on the, uptake here.
No seas tonto. Mercedes se refiere a Raquel.
Bueno, es natural que hubiera una atracción entre los dos. Los dos son profesionistas y
Oh, he catches
Sí,
himself. Oh, his brother gets an I told you so moment. Yeah. Well, of course they'd be attracted to each other. They're both professionals. And his brother, who is trying to counsel him on this, is like, yeah, go on. They're both
los
professional.
dos son profesionistas. ¿Y? No, nada. Pensaba en Patty. Eso es todo.
Yeah, I was thinking about Patty. That's all.
¿Dónde estarán esos dos?
¿Dónde estarán? Where can they be? Where can those two be? ¿Dónde estarán? Not where will they be like tomorrow. It looks like it should be. Future tense, curiously, uses the whole infinitive. You know how we drill into you, take off the AR, take off the ER, take off the IR. Future tense does not do that. Future tense keeps the AR, keeps the IR. And they tag on a whole set of endings. So, ¿dónde estarán? Where will they be? But what they really are saying is, where can those two people be?
¿Qué estarán haciendo?
And what must they be doing? They all say, yeah, see. Okay.
Raquel,
Y claro, sí, que recuerdan la otra noche. They're thinking about the other night. And he's just, quiero aprovechar estos minutos contigo. I want to take advantage of these few minutes along with you. Claro, okay, claro que sí. Claro que sí.
¿por qué no me contás bien?
And he uses a voz thing. Why don't you tell me everything that happened? He kind of still feels in the dark. He knows his nephew is in the hospital and is okay. He knows all that, but he doesn't really understand how this big tumble of events, what happened in what sequence, what all went on. No me has dicho nada realmente. You have not really told me anything. Not really. So he kind of wants to know the sequence of what happened. And of course, you all know that, so we can pass through all of that. So she's telling him the nitty gritty details of what really happened as they got to the excavation site, etc., etc. And we don't need to go through all of that. Paso a paso, step by step, porque ya saben, you already know all of this. So he's telling her all of that. And me imaginaba que estarían preocupadísimos. I imagine you guys must have all been, she uses a conditional because she's talking about the past. I imagine you guys must have all been super, super worried. This ísimo thing that we tag on kind of takes the word muy, very, and magnifies it. Ísimo magnifies whatever quality they're talking about. And if we're talking about the quality of preocupado, worried, preocupadísimos makes it super worried. You guys must have been super worried. Okay. A ver. Y more recap. So we no necesitamos eso. We don't really need to go through all of that. And they're kind of retelling the whole story from everybody else's point of view. Momentito. There's one little thing I want you to remember for the next couple of episodes. There's a lot of background talk of Gloria here. She's talking about living in Miami. And it's kind of a background noise. So I'm going to ask you to pay attention to that because they didn't really point it out to you to pay close attention. A mí no me cuesta mucho trabajo. It does not cost me much work, this is another way of saying it's not very hard. A mí no me cuesta mucho trabajo ajustarme a Miami. It has not been very hard for me to adjust to life in Miami. So she is telling everybody how easy it was for her to slip into the lifestyle in Miami. Me encantó, podía ir. I loved it, that I was able to go to the beach all the time.
tiempo, a la hora que yo quiera. El ambiente es
At the time I feel like it. Oh, I can go to the beach whenever I want to, todo el tiempo, all the time, and whenever I want, she uses subjunctive.
hay una cantidad de tiendas, una cantidad
And so many stores, una cantidad de tiendas para los niños, stores for the kids.
de tiendas para los niños, para nosotros, maravillosa. Claro, Carlos se pone furioso cada vez que yo...
And she talks about, it's so easy there. All you do is give them a card and you're out of the store.
Marilyn,
Tuck that, see.
could, where this sentence here, right, Carlos, se pone furioso each time that, I'm not sure what.
Carlos se pone furioso. He puts himself, ponerse is like put on clothing, right? Me pongo los zapatos, I put on my shoes, me pongo un sombrero, I put on a hat. Se pone with an adjective like furioso means somebody gets a certain way. They get themselves into a state. There is no one way to comfortably translate the word get from English into Spanish. Spanish uses many different things to say the idea of get. And that's more due to the fact that we in English use get to say so many different things. Okay, so here she's saying, Carlos se pone furioso, he gets really angry. Carlos gets mad. He gets mad every time I keep buying stuff all the time. Tuck that into the back of your gray matter. This is going to come back and bite us in the butt. Okay. Carlos se pone furioso. And of course, she's saying it in sort of a frivolous way here. Se pone furioso. Because then it goes into the background because he's thinking back to his argument with Pati. And they're just giving you that everybody is thinking about the last few days' events from their own points of view. And if he, of course, doesn't really care about Gloria's, jaunts to the beach. No le importa. It does not matter to him. He could give a rip how much Gloria wants to buy. He's got to listen to it because it's his in-laws. Yeah. Así es. Oh, we never do that with our family. Yeah.
Until he finds out they're all broke. Then
Until,
he-
yeah.
What was she saying?
Well, there are going to be some issues that come up. So then we tie in so that we remind you that, Pati lives in Miami and the office in Miami is going to close or not Pati, I'm sorry, Gloria lives in Miami. And that, these things are going to somehow get tied together. And I don't know if I'm trying to remember if we pick up the thread here.
Tenemos que hablar con Carlos.
Pero bueno, ese es su problema. Yo nada más firmo con la...
Nada más que firmo con la tarjeta. Nothing more than I just sign the card. Nada más. So this is the way they say, all I do is, it's like saying you do it and you're out of there. Yo nada más firmo. All I have to do is sign. Sign with that card, baby.
Y después me desentiendo. Él es quien recibe todas las cuentas. Yo nada más gasto.
Yeah, and they just send that bill on, and send that bill on. Y nada más gasto, and I get that's all I have to do to spend my money. Throw my card around. Yeah, he laughs now. He won't be laughing later.
Están muy contentos también van a la escuela.
Okay.
Es muy delicado. Es necesario consultar a un
Y entonces hablamos un poquito de Mercedes, un poquito. Y ella es la que cuida a todos. She's the one who's kind of the caretaker figure, right? The kind of dutiful daughter, a little too dutiful maybe. Pero así es. Okay. Bueno, más preguntas. Sí, Juanita, dime.
Can you say that sentence again with the gordo about I don't like him, the slang? I want to
Me
write
cae
that
gordo. Me cae gordo. I don't like somebody. Me cae gordo.
down. So that's not no. It's me cae
You
gordo.
can say it as no. No me cae bien means I don't like somebody. Or me cae gordo, and that's very colloquial, but it's used by a lot of people.
Huh.
Uh,
Huh. That's interesting. Yeah.
you can think of it as somebody as their personality falls flat. Kind of, but we would never really quite say it that in English, would we? You would just say, I don't like the guy. He doesn't strike me as very, he doesn't strike me as such a great guy. He doesn't seem so great to me. No me cae bien. Me cae gordo makes it a little more forceful, really, than no me cae bien.
And me cae gordo means the fat falls on me?
Meaning he falls fat on me.
Oh, he falls fat on me.
Or could be referring to a woman. She falls fat on me, whatever. But yeah, that would indicate that you just don't take to somebody. Like a lot of times we try to say it in a nice way. I don't take to that guy so well. And that's the way we phrase it as, I don't like them. But this would be the way that they say it in Spanish. So, okay, a ver, vamos a ver. I want us to pair up some verbs here with these le or les. Pairing them up with me, te, or nos is not a big deal. Me, te, or nos, you don't have to think about, is it direct or indirect? You don't have to think about it, ever. Me, te, and nos are indirect. Me, te, and nos are direct. You don't have to think about which category of object it falls into. But that le and les, you have to think about it a little bit. So a better way than really thinking about a lot of rules, I could give you a lot of rules. The le or the les means, the le means to him. You do something to one person. To a guy, to him. Or to a gal, to her, or formally to you, also for that, if you're addressing someone as usted, okay? And the les would mean you're doing something to somebody, or to you guys, a bunch of you, a group of you, not just one you, but a bunch of people, two or more people that you're addressing as you. So it's good to get an idea that we wind up pairing le or les with a lot of these verbs. And so we're going to look at one group of verbs. Your book gave you one set of verbs that we pair them up with. And they paired up le or les, meaning indirect object pronouns, with verbs like cobrar, to charge a certain amount of money, to charge a fee. You would want that for anybody who gave you a service, for anybody who's giving you a taxi ride. ¿Cuánto me cobra? How much are you charging to me? Yeah. Cobrar, to charge money for a service in exchange. Comprar, you buy something for somebody. So, le compro, right? Probably you're not going to talk about your charging, but somebody charging you, me cobra, but le compra, buy something for somebody, for a him or her. Contar, to tell a story. Decir means to tell something, but contar generally means to tell a story, meaning you're going to relate something kind of long. So contar, le cuenta, le cuento. Okay. Contestar, le contesta, or les contesta, le contesta. Le doy, les doy, give, right? Decir, le digo, I tell him. Les digo, I tell them. So think of this le or les as always paired up with a different verb. Enseñar, to teach, you're probably not going to use that a lot unless you use enseñar in the sense of to show, you might. But enviar, to send, you might send emails to people or send messages to people. So le envío, I send him, right? Le hago una pregunta, I make a question to him. That's often how they use the idea of ask. Hacer una pregunta is often used with le. Le hago una pregunta. Le hago una pregunta. I make a question to him. You might say ask. They do have a verb for ask. Right next to it, preguntar in your book, en el libro. Sí, en el libro, en la página 164. Le pregunto means the same thing as le hago una pregunta. I make him a question. Le pregunto. I ask him a question. They're equivalent ideas. Le with prestar, because you loan something to somebody. They don't really have a word for borrow in Spanish. It's always expressed as loaning something to somebody with the verb prestar. So if you want to ask, can I borrow a pencil? What you really have to ask them, because there is no word borrow, you have to really ask it as, ¿me prestas un lápiz? Will you loan me a pencil? ¿Me prestas un lápiz? Ah, sí, 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 te presto un lápiz. Yeah, I'll loan you a pencil. Ah, le presto un lápiz. I'll loan him a pencil. Okay? Vender, just as we use comprar with le, we often use vender with le, and traer, bringing, we often use. So, le traigo, I bring him something, right? Le trae, she brings him something. Le traemos, we bring him or we bring her something. So traer is often used with it. Now on this particular screen that you see that we've got, they use a different set of verbs, but often you say that you rent something to somebody, you give something, they replicated the dar, they replicated the decir, they replicated the enseñar and the hacer. Leer, you read something to somebody, perhaps. Mandar can also mean send, so you send a thing to somebody. Pedir, you ask somebody for something, okay? They repeat the prestar. Repetir, you repeat something to somebody. Servir, you serve a glass of something to somebody, okay? And they repeat the traer. So we're going to use these words from the top: alquilar, dar, decir, enseñar, hacer, leer, mandar, pedir, prestar, repetir, servir, traer. We're going to see if we can plug these in. Julio gives me a kiss, and we won't use a le here because we're using gives me. Okay. Julio.
Me da.
Me da. Me da un beso. Me da. You should think of these as units that work together. Me da un beso.
You know,
sí.
One of the things that seemed to be true for me as I'm rereading this, because I know we've done this before, but that means nothing that it's stuck in my brain, okay? But when I was doing some of the exercise, it's almost like I have to go backwards in the sentence, like what's going on, and then who's.
Because in English, often we say, I'm giving him a kiss.
Yeah.
I give him. Yeah. And in Spanish, the order of those words is going to flip.
Right.
To him, I give.
Yeah. And so when I'm reading it, I look at it as a chunk and then kind of go backwards. But when I'm hearing it, it's like, wait a minute, what now?
When you're hearing it, you can't work backwards when you hear it.
You can't. You
can't work backwards when you hear it. So this is why we want to try to get you used to connecting together these two things. Even though they're separate words, get used to the idea of these two things run together. And it won't be him give. It will be to him give, to him give. So you have to rewire your brain to think in a different word order, so that the word order you want to think of this is me da, le da, les da, nos da, te da. You want to think of it in that order.
Would you use the infinitive and do the darme?
Ah, I can only use darme. Okay, if I tweaked this sentence around a little bit, Susana, if I said, Julio va a darme un beso, I could do that. Julio va a darme un beso. Julio is going to give me a kiss. I could take the me and attach it to dar because dar is an infinitive. So there are only specific times I can attach a me, te, nos, le, or les to the, I can attach it to an infinitive. I can attach it to an ando, yendo kind of structure. Okay. I have to attach it if it's a go do it command. So if you say, give me a kiss, dame un beso, dame. Now I'm telling him, do it. Dame un beso, give me a kiss, dame un beso. I can attach it in those situations, but if I'm just talking about a present tense verb, a past tense verb of any kind, a future tense verb of any kind, it's got to be me da, te da, nos da, le da, les da. It's got to be in that order. So you should try to think of those two things as two units that work together. But of course, where that me goes can shift around depending on the sentence structure. Here, I don't have a two verb phrase. It's just da, gives, right? But if I changed it to Julio va a darme un beso, I could do that. Bien? Bien. Okay. I read the book to Isabel. I want to think about Isabel right away. Isabel becomes
Le.
Le. Okay. And I'm doing the reading, so le.
Leo.
Leo.
No, Leo.
Yo le leo el libro a Isabel. And the a Isabel can stay there. The a Isabel can be what we call a clarifying phrase. If from the previous context, you don't know who I mean by that word le, because le could mean Isabel, it could mean Juanita, could mean Ramon, it could mean usted, it could mean a whole bunch of different people. So if you're not clear from context, you may tag on the a Isabel way at the end to clarify who you mean by le. You may do that, but often people will not, you know, because they'll be talking about, oh, I put Isabel to bed. Isabel was so tired. I'm reading her a book. You know, we mean when we say le leo el libro, I'm reading the book to her because of everything that I talked about Isabel beforehand, right? But out of context, I may tag on an a Isabel on the end of that. Alejandro brings them balloons. Oh, sí.
How would you say I read it to her?
I read it to her. Momentito. Let's do a different share screen. Okay, qué buena pregunta. Because sometimes we do that, don't we? Sometimes we use not one pronoun, but two. It's a twofer. Okay, if you've got a twofer situation, okay, let's just strip this down. Yo leo un libro a Isabel. And by the way, as it stands there, you will hardly ever, I want to even say maybe only 5% of the time would somebody ever phrase it that way by itself. I phrase it that way to you guys so that you know all the elements of who's doing what, with what, to whom, okay? But if people are talking to you, they'll never say it without a word le, never. It'll never be hanging there naked without a word le. It just never will. So if I use just, I'm reading her a book, it's yo le leo un libro. And I may or may not tag on an a Isabel. I may tag it on if I think you don't know who I mean by le. Pretty likely I'll leave it off. Okay, I could conversely just turn this into, I'm reading, I might take both of those elements. I'm reading it to her. Then it becomes yo se lo leo. Se lo leo. If I want to get rid of the idea of un libro, I want to get rid of libro. That word un libro becomes lo.
And then why does the lay become se?
Why does the le become se? You are right. Tienes razón. The le does become se. Why the heck does it do that? Because in Spanish, you can't le lo. In Spanish, you cannot say something like this. Yo le lo leo. And you can hear why. You can hear exactly why not. Lelo, 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 lelo. They don't like lelo. So if I am going to pair up a le with a lo, because of that la, 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 la sound coming right one after the other, the le turns into the se. Now, in that case, because now se, by the way, les, les also can become se in that situation. So now you have a very confusing situation. Se can mean to him, se can mean to her, se can mean to you, usted, se can mean to them, those guys, se can mean to, hey, all you guys. So because se can mean so very many things, it is kind of likely that they'll tag on and not Isabel there, just to make sure that you know who I mean by the word se. Okay, so yes, you can pair up two pronouns, dos pronombres, two object pronouns together. But in that case, you've got that funky rule of if I combine two of them, le is going to turn into se. So that makes life kind of a lot more complicated, doesn't it? Okay.
Carolyn, quick question.
See,
Would you hear somebody say, Isabella, leo un libro? Or would it always pretty much be at the end?
quizás, maybe. Where you tag on that Isabel, it can come in the front. It'll probably be off in the back. It'll probably be the caboose of the sentence.
Okay.
It'll probably be trailing off at the end. With gustar, it often comes up front, but with other verbs, it often follows. So, okay. Yeah. Now, we're not going to get so much into the se part of it today. We want to look more at just the le by itself here. So we're going to go back to some examples of typical verbs. So brings them. What is he bringing them? Balloons, globos. But we want to say brings them. And we want to get that them word out right away. So Alejandro. Les. And now he's going to do the action of traer.
Traer?
Yeah, trae, just one, because Alejandro's the guy doing it. He's doing it for them, right? So the for them becomes the les. Alejandro les trae. Alejandro les trae. Les trae, les trae. It could be le trae if it were only this many people. It could be me trae if it's for me. It could be te trae if it's for you. It could be nos trae if he does it for us, right? Okay.
Yeah, this is where it gets confusing because he's bringing plural things, but you're using the singular,
yes,
trae because it's Alejandro who's doing the bringing, right?
Right. Trae is singular because Alejandro is doing the trae.
Right.
Alejandro is doing that action. So that verb has got to stay with whoever does it.
So if we could say Alejandro trae les globos, we would be clear on it, but it's not that way.
No, we can't say Alejandro trae les. We can say in English, Alejandro brings them balloons.
Mhm.
That word order does not work in Spanish. Alejandro les trae. So you are dragging the words into an opposite from what your brain is used to order. It's a totally illogical English order, but a completely logical and must do it Spanish order. Alejandro les trae. Les trae, them brings. Them brings balloons. Les trae globos. Okay, I'm loaning you my shirt, and this is an easy one because it's not a le word. It's going to be yo.
Okay.
I'm te,
Te.
and we're going to use prestar. And you're not doing the loaning. I'm doing the loaning. Yo
Preo? Would it be preo?
presto.
Presto.
Yo te presto. Yo te presto mi camisa. Yo te presto mi camisa. Now, what you're probably really going to say in English is, I'll loan it to you. Te la presto. Te la presto. Te la presto. If I get rid of mi camisa entirely, I can turn it into the word la. And I don't have that le-lo problem because it's te. Te la presto, I'll loan it to you. Te la presto. Te la
Sorry.
presto.
Marilyn, wait a minute. So the la is because it's a camisa is feminine?
You might combine it as a twofer, right?
Okay.
Eso es. So you are very likely to hear them using two pronouns, not just one. This particular drill only uses one pronoun. It's trying to go easy on you. But you may very well likely hear this as te la presto. Okay. I'll loan it to you. The it being a shirt. Okay. Okay. They serve her more shrimp. Her serve. Her serve. Her serve.
Le sirve?
Le. And le sirve. Servir has to go along with ellos.
Oh, sirven.
Ellos le sirven. Ellos le sirven. Le sirven, le sirven. Let's take a look at our list together. How I want you to think about these are me da, or le da, or les da. You want to think of give him, give him. It's got to be him give,
Give.
him give, him give. And this is complicated on probably it's complicated on two levels. I'm saying him give, but he's not the one giving. Yeah. So it's him in front of a verb that tells who does it. The verb, how we're conjugating the verb has nothing to do with who this human being of him is. Yeah. Me da, me has nothing to do with that conjugation da. Da is conjugated for Julio. Julio me da. Julio me da. Julio me gives.
Yeah.
That's the word order. But your brain is trying to think of, wait a minute, Julio, what do I do with dar? Oh, Julio da. Julio da. Who does he give? He gives me. Julio me da. Julio me da. Julio gives him. Julio le da. Julio gives them, those guys. Julio les da. Julio gives us becomes Julio nos da. So whoever that little pronoun is, me, te, nos, le, does not correspond to the verb form. This, me, te, nos, le, les. These little words tell who receives the action, who it's being done to. But they have no relationship to the way we conjugate the verb. ¿Me entienden? Understand what I mean by that? So that little pronoun has no relationship with how do I conjugate that verb? It's got to come in front of the verb, but it has no relationship to how I conjugate that verb. How I conjugate that verb looks at who's doing it. Julio's who's doing it. Julio me da. It could become Julio le da. It could become Julio nos da. It could become Julio les da. So I want you to think of it in terms of me da, te da, nos da, le da, les da. Think of them paired together that way. You have to reorder the way your brain works with the word order for sure. Le leo, and this is a little odd because of the word, those two L sounds. Me leo, I read to myself. Yeah, you really don't need, right? But you get the idea. It could be easily te leo or les leo, I read to them, right? Alejandro les trae. To them he brings. Les trae. Les trae could turn into le trae, could turn into nos trae, could turn into me trae, could turn into te trae. That little pronoun tells who it's happening to, not who does it, who's it happening to. Okay. Te presto, les sirven, muy común. Okay, you teach us a lot. Oh, so if you're teaching us, usted enseña, I don't have, yeah, nos enseña, momentito. It's, shoot, I don't have my ñ. I have to go get my ñ. Okay, a ver. Bien, so, enseña, nos enseña, could become le enseña, could become les enseña, could become me enseña, depending on who you're doing it to, right? Antonio orders guacamole for me. This one's a no-brainer. If he's doing it for me, it's Antonio
Me.
And we want a form of pedir.
Pido.
Pido means I'm doing it. It can't be conjugated for me.
Pide.
Me pide. I will tell you the rules. And tell you, it's going to be, we will tell you. So if we're telling, it's decimos. And now we're saying, hey, we're telling you guys.
Lay.
Les.
Le is this many, but you guys is les. Les decimos las reglas. Les decimos las reglas. Les decimos las reglas. If I am sitting across the table from 5 of you, and we're going through the rules for euchre, the rules for Jim Rummy, or the rules for whatever game it is we're playing, and I'm looking at all you guys, I am not going to bother to say a ustedes. Why? I'm looking at you. Oh, les decimos. Oh, my partner and I, we'll tell all of you. Les decimos las reglas. We'll tell you the rules. And nobody's going to bother to say a ustedes. Because if they're looking you in the eyeball, hey, you ought to know. I'm talking to you guys. Les decimos. We'll tell you. Okay. Who makes churros for you? Oh, okay. Just one you. Okay. And who makes? We're conjugating makes for who. And who means it's this many people. Hace. ¿Quién te hace churros? Te hace. Les decimos te hace. Les decimos te hace. Bien. Nobody sends Lola cookies. Nobody sends her cookies. Nobody sends her. You want to say her sends. Her sends.
Le
And we're going to use mandar.
manda.
Manda.
Le manda.
Manda. And manda's okay because manda matches up with nobody. Nobody is only this many people, even though it's really this many people, right? It's really this many people. Nadie is really this many people, but we conjugate it for singular as if it were one person. Nadie le manda. Nadie le manda. Le manda, le manda. Le manda could just as easily be les manda, send them. Could just as easily be nos manda, sends us. Could just as easily be me manda, sends me. Me manda sends me. Te manda sends you. Le manda sends him or sends her. Les manda sends them. Nos manda sends us. Así es. Okay? I'll rent my condo to him. We'll put in the rent first because you don't really need to use this word a whole lot. Alquilar. Oh, and it can't be alquila because it's yo. Alquilo. I'll rent it to him.
Le.
Le.
Le alquilo. Le alquilo. Les alquilo. I rent to them. Maybe it's a couple. Les alquilo. Bien? And he repents. He might repent. He might repent. He repeats the gossip to Magda. Oh, he's repeating it to this many people.
Le.
Le. Él le.
Repite.
Repite. Le repite los chismes a Maga. Le repite, le repite, le repite. Bien? Le repite. And I want you to think of those words joining together because you really so badly want to work backwards, but we can't really work. Because when you talk, you can't do that. And when you hear them saying it, can't do that. You've got to be listening for the les. You've got to be thinking a different way. It is very hard to do because our word order is different. And because we do so many fewer conjugations. So your brain is thinking about subject, verb, object. You've got to be thinking subject, object, verb that's conjugated for that first person. That's a complicated process. So a good thing for you to do, en fin, and we'll do this next week, is learn to, don't even worry about the subject. Just conjugate the verb, slide that pronoun in. So pronoun, verb tells who does it. Pronoun, verb tells who does it. That's how I want you to think of it. Think in a different way. Think of it as, who am I doing it to? And the verb that tells who does the action. Who am I doing it to? The verb that tells who does the action. That's how I want you to think of it. Okay.
Will you send us that thing? Yeah, because we can print it out. And
I will send you a thing. I'm going to send you a thing in two phases. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you actually a thing that is going to do kind of like what you saw on the screen. It'll be a word order thing first. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is to send you something that's going to combine two ways for us to practice it. And one will be going from the English to the just merge the pronoun and the verb. Just merge the pronoun and the verb. And all of the examples are going to be, I'm doing the action. Okay. So you don't have to think real hard about what do I do with conjugation. They're all going to be yo. So I just want you to slide together who am I doing it to and yo. Who am I doing it to? The yo verb. Who am I doing it to? The yo verb. Okay, you're going to slide that together. And the second half of the drill is going to be question, answer, okay, that you'll do in small group. So I'm going to send that ahead of, I will send that to you with the email so that you've got all week to kind of look at it. You can do the little drill on the internet and then look at the things to prep. Bien?
Bien.
Half translation, half questions. There'll be questions like you might typically ask somebody. Okay, bien?
Bien.
See, we're going to be pairing up a lot of, I can't use every single verb that you'll typically use, but I'm going to use verbs like dar, verbs like hacer una pregunta, ask a question. I'm going to use verbs like contar, telling a story, relating what happened. Okay. Contar is a little more extensive than decir. Decir is to tell, like, oh, I'll tell him about it. That's just a little thing, right? Or I tell him a joke. That's a little thing. But if you're going to tell somebody about, let me tell you about what happened in my day, that's contar. Because now if I'm going to tell you what happened in my day, I got a little story with it. And that's contar, because that's more than decir. That's a bigger deal than decir. But decir, contar, dar, traer, bring, comprar, buy, because you buy something for somebody quite often. Comprar, for charging, and preguntar, asking questions. I'm going to keep it to a limited number of verbs. Bien. I'm going to keep it more to the sets of verbs that are in this set of what's in here in this particular chapter. So I'll let you know it's going to be the verbs from 164 and 165. Those are not the only verbs you can use an indirect object with, but I want you to think of just the conjugated verb and who you're doing it to, and that's got to come, the who you're doing it to has to come up front. Bien? Sí, sí?
Sí.
Okay. If you think this is hard, you are correct. Think this is hard.
Good.
Because your brain wants to do it in the order of subject, conjugate the verb, who am I doing it to? And that's a bunch of different steps, but you're out of order. I want you to think of it as who am I doing it to? And now here's the verb telling who does it. Don't worry about subject. Worry about who am I doing it to? Conjugate the verb. And pair them together. See?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. If I find a super short video that talks about these as chunks that work together, just think of them as things that must be used together. If I find a good succinct one, I'll put that in as the sequence of here's the order I want you to do it in, okay, to try to imprint it on your brain. ¿Está bien?
Sí.
Es complicado, sí es complicado, pero también es común. It is also very common. Even though this is complex, it is indeed more common. And the thing that Kathleen brought up about, well, what if I say I'll loan it to him? That's one step more complicated, yeah, but we do it all the time, don't we? Right? I'll give it to him, I'll tell it to him. And so that step of using two objects, two things, we're going to try to stay away from that for now, because it's a little more complicated. Okay? Está bien?
Sí.
We're good for now? Okay. We'll end that for there so as not to bust your brain too badly. Yeah. And